Okay, I'm gonna try out this this format. No picture of me for now, because I gotta wash all my maid cosplays. So next week I'll try that out. Let me do an announcement. So the idea for the stream actually came from watching The Magus Bride, and then I wanted to do something cool with it, like actually build up a background for streaming about like narrative design and literature, and this is kind of the result of that. I don't have any viewers yet, but I'm still preparing, so like in the background you can hear me moving around. I don't really have coffee at the moment. I already finished it, so I've got a lot of tea. I don't know if anybody wants to join me. Still testing this out. So I've got like a pile of books next to me, and I plan to provide like a brief like intro to narrative design and literature. Whoa, I got like a follow last night. Thank you, Blake Shadow Belladonna, for following. How lovely. And Afro Taku Media. So right now I'm just grabbing my Shakespearean literature books. I'll start in a moment. Oh god, I'm about to like fall. Okay, that's the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney textbook. So like I'm literally like lying in bed with a lot of like textbooks, because like I've done a lot of Shakespearean literature courses for fun, because that's the kind of requirements that the university has before you can graduate. You got to do like a couple like pre 1800 courses, and Shakespeare coming from like the 1500s was totally like about that life. So Shakespeare's rarely signed his name consistently. Other known spellings include Shakespeare, Shagospeare. Even his like wedding certificate, it wasn't exactly spelt as Shakespeare. His wife was also like very drunk, so she also didn't sign her name properly. So it's a well-known fact that like he's actually a lot younger than his wife. His wife was 25 when they got married. Her parents was against the wedding or the marriage to begin with, so he got her pregnant, so they had to say yes. Because, you know, he was 19 and she's 25, right? They went on to have like 3 kids. One of them died early. His son was part of a set of twins, and after he passed, he wrote Hamlet in memory of his beloved son. And it's like, it's very famous, but like you can see that a lot of things he wrote was he actually wrote and like worked outside of home. It said that he like went into London while his like wife stayed in the countryside taking care of the kids. However, I think it's not like exactly common for professors to, like English literature professors, to recognize that male depression expresses itself differently than, and paternal grief expresses itself quite differently than maternal grief, because so we talk about like things like in developmental psychobiology, right, where we look at bereavement and grief for women is like really well researched, but like the grief of a father, what happens when your like infant dies, right? So you get like depression will not manifest in like the body shutting down. Instead, you get like a boost in energy and irritation and like all this like testosterone that like originally would have been lowered upon becoming a father actually goes haywire, because your body's still searching for a child that you've lost, right? Like, but even though you're consciously aware that your child has died, your body is struggles to recognize it. So you go into a state of like thinking that you need to do something, but you have no idea what to do. My professor gave his own personal life example of like how he ended up like building an entire gazebo. He doesn't even need a gazebo, but that was the result of the bereavement and grief of losing a child. Like, he just needed to use that energy. So Shakespeare, like, some of his most, like, productive, like, plays, tragedies that are not exactly popular, like Titus Andronicus, like, they come from his own personal experiences, his own grief. So the way Shakespeare is read is a little different than how we watch movies and read books nowadays. Shakespeare would, like, before you even step into the theater, you would have been given a brief synopsis or summary of what's going to happen. So you have an idea of the plot summary before you even start watching the play. So then you can judge the actors on how well they perform. So that's why in like the 1500s when Shakespeare was around, knowing the plot or spoilers wasn't a bad thing. If anything, it allowed for the audience to criticize whether the performance was done well or not. Also, like, people would be more excited for the individual performers, more so than like the notion of like, oh, what's the plot, what's gonna happen, because you already know what's gonna happen, so you judge it based on execution much more. So because I did an English literature specialist by mistake, because I can't count for beans, it was meant to only be a major, right? Because I love story, so I just kept taking these classes, and I lost count before I like realized that although I went back, like after I finished university, I went back to do what was supposed to be a either second degree or an upgrade for psychology. I ended up like realizing that, oh shit, I actually qualified for the specialist for English already. So this was like more so discussion of what I've learned. A lot of it comes from the Norton Anthology. Right now, I don't know where my Shakespeare and Norton Anthology books have gone. I think in a future stream, I will go into more detail about like Shakespeare's background and like how ridiculous it is, because he's an awesome dude. Rami, it might just be you at the moment. But yeah, so the background will probably change every time I do one of these Shakespearean read-throughs. So I don't know if there's even a true target audience for this. Yeah. Maybe it's just you, but that's fine. That's fine. I'm gonna like have fun about this. Like I don't know how much of Shakespeare have you known. Like, have you watched any Shakespearean or like read any Shakespearean plays? Because, like, yeah, so the Tempest is, like, a little bit about the Tempest. So, a friend of mine actually felt like, she constantly compared me to one of the characters in the Tempest, but I've actually personally never read the Tempest. So this is, like, also new for me. Like, I've read Hamlet, Midsummer Night's Dream, Twelfth Night. I actually never completed Romeo and Juliet, because it wasn't a requirement, and like my professor said that Romeo and Juliet was the result of Shakespeare's like annoying ass neighbors. Like, he had these like teenage neighbors that never shut up. Like, they'd wake up in the middle of the night and be like, "Oh, I love you forever, long time, I love you." Oh, I was like, "Oh no, I love you more, no me." And like he just like could not stand people for the life of him like that, right? And like they're like the kind of people which like slide into your DMs with like obnoxious, "Oh, I love you forever. I'll bear your children," like shit like that, right? And then he's like, "God, you're like 12. Go to sleep. Jesus." Macbeth was my cousin's favorite. Like she made like had the book lying around, but we also like saw the play together. Yeah. Yeah, ham sheeps. But like Shakespeare, that's why like you know how in Romeo and Juliet they die off. It's because he hates his neighbors that much. You watched the 1968 movie? Oh, that's cool. But like a little bit of background for the Tempest. I'm not sure
why my friend thinks I'm like Prospero, but I think it's a valid opener to Shakespeare because one, I'll be learning about it as I read it with you guys. The discussion after each act is like me just like inferring from my own experience of like reading Shakespeare, like previous Shakespearean works, and like having in-depth knowledge about the time period of the 1500s. Of course, like Queen Elizabeth I of the Tudors is ruling England at this time, so uh, she's pretty badass. He's really fun. Shakespeare wrote a lot of things for to be performed for the Queen, right? Um, the Tempest like takes place on an island. Prospero basically gets like kicked out of ruling this part of like I think is it Milan? Like he originally was like a aristocrat that ruled a given area. His brother kicked him out, scammed him into losing his position, and then there's like a different prince ruling there now. So unfortunately, he basically goes from like riches to rags. He manages to escape the turmoil with his infant daughter. So Act One like deals with like him trying to like Prospero's like cast magic to scam his well no not scam but like to give dharmic retribution to those that like brought about his downfall and to kind of lure in the prince of the area so that he can redeem himself. And then Act 2 deals with like his backstory. Like he's teaching his daughter about what happened, which is kind of cool because his daughter is like kind of a fool. There's mentions of dryads in this, which comes from a lot of like Northern European lore. Northern England has like it's in Celtic lore, dryads are a thing too, right? But in Shakespeare, like there's like straight up spirits that are not Christian at all, right? They're pagan religious characters and they have magical powers. So since I wanted to like be more informed while watching the Magus Bride, the Ancient Magus Bride, that's why this series is relevant. I'll take a break after Act 1, Scene 1 so I can like get more like tea. Yeah. So let's see. So I'm grabbing the Tempest off of a website. It's actually the Shakespeare MIT edu site because Shakespeare's so old, right? I don't have a physical copy of the book, unfortunately. Normally, I'm just gonna mention this. There's a couple publishers I really like. Penguin being one of them. Oxford. Wait, let me double check something. Shakespeare. But like, although you can get like Shakespeare for Kindle and whatnot, I personally like annotated versions of Shakespearean literature because then it gives you like definitions and stuff. But the version I'm reading from has 0 annotations, so it's all good. Like it's kind of like fun because I'm attempting to go through this in a format that I normally like when I would be reading Shakespeare. I'd have like a professor that I can like ask, right? Like Oxford editions of like Midsummer Night's Dream, I have like the physical copy somewhere downstairs or upstairs. Actually, I'm not sure where I put it. I'm pretty sure it rolled off the bed. Basically, like months ago, I like put all my like Shakespearean books into like a box. I brought it upstairs and then I like got lost reading it. It's one of the reasons why I've been streaming less. I'm just like rereading like a lot of things that I adore or like enjoy reading. It's kind of funny, right? Because like in high school, a lot of people complain how difficult it is to read Shakespeare. But now that I'm like done my university and postgrad, right? Like in narrative design and game design and all that, like it's nice to go back to my roots. Yeah, so I'm also gonna mention that like how someone could easily take any Shakespearean play and convert it to a visual novel if you like program at all, right? Because Shakespeare actually like Shakespeare's script format gives you all the backgrounds as well as sound effects that you'll possibly need, right? Yeah. Since I have ADHD to begin with, so it's fine. Like, if anything, being capable of being distracted by like the things that you enjoy or the things that I enjoy, right, is pleasant. Like, it's a nice way to spend time rather than like like one of the old definitions for depression comes as the loss of the ability to do self-enhancement to grow. So you literally are depressed, right? Depression. So the loss of growth. Another older definition of depression comes from examining male depression, called it valid hatred turned towards this against no it's inverted that hatred, or like hatred turned towards the self. So you literally have a valid reason to be angry or upset at a given situation, but instead of dealing with it or having the capacity to deal with it, it ends up getting buried so much that it ends up being unfortunately self-damage. So it's like the inverse of an area of effect damage. Like when you should be defending yourself, instead like you end up hitting yourself instead. It's kind of an awful definition now I think about it. Where did my... Okay, I had like milk earlier. Where did it go? Alright, I'm actually a little thirsty. I could like pour some water and then come back. Unless like you guys want me to start right away. I also have ginseng. I have 6-year-old ginseng beverage. It also says it's halal on it. So like you know, like a lot of nomadic cultures go through Korea, right? So like that's why it'll say things like halal and kosher, because like whether you're a merchant that like wasn't after ginseng at all, but like you end up trying it out, because ginseng is like the ancient energy drink of scholars. Yeah, since I'm at home. Yeah. No worries. Grab your drinks and snacks and anything else before I need. Okay. So I'm back on my laptop. It's actually a cold day, so it's pretty like I can't explain it. My screen goes like kind of flickers every now and then, so I'm just running CC cleaner like right before I start. Oop. Oh no, it closed Chrome. Don't worry, it'll be back. Okay, I got like 100 MB to remove. That's fine. Like I've been told that Chrome has like a lot, like uses a lot more memory than Firefox, but I'm like stubborn, so I keep using Chrome anyway. No, I've still got water. I'm okay for now. Let me close things. So I'm hoping that clearing up like random MBs of stuff will help out. Whatever. Okay, there we go. 131 MB removed. Will I have to relog into things? I don't know. But in the meantime, so Space Samurai actually got me like a book on the Iwata book, so I'll probably like read that at some point too. Maybe not all of it on stream, but like random quotes from it if I see that it's relevant. Let's see. So I'm doing pretty good. So the difference between me off meds and on meds is very simple. So off meds, I was up to like 140 tabs. Right now I'm on meds and I'm down to 26 tabs. Yeah, you heard me. So the difference between me and someone who doesn't have ADHD is yeah, like 100 plus tabs is the norm. Because I'm compensating for RAM I don't have, right? Like yeah. Anyway, let me get the music going. I'm gonna like just continue having cafe music if you guys don't mind from Persona 5 in the background. It's about an hour, like I wonder why I can't I want to add more like cafe music, but it's fine. There's also like chill, like rainy Persona music from Persona 3 that it'll switch into later. So I think it's okay. Alright, let's go. So Act 1, Scene 1, on a ship at sea, a tempestuous noise. Oh yeah, before I begin, Shakespeare writes in the iambic pentameter. I've made my profs, my TAs laugh because they're like, it's basically like, there's a meter that you can hear in the reading of Shakespeare. So just to point out that it's supposed to be like supposed to be like, da, 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 da. Like, I actually can't do this right. There's like, wait, let me find it. So it's, every line needs to have 10 syllables and that they follow a pattern. So it's like, da, dum, da, dum, da, dum, da, dum, da, dum. So it's like, I saw the hot walk down the, no wait, sorry. I saw the hot walk down the hall. Wait, like, anyway, I'm not good at this, but like, I don't think I can pull off the iambic pentameter. The last time I got someone to read anything from Shakespeare was, actually no, I'm a little shit. Like, let me do a quick aside. So the last time I met a voice actor was the voice actor for Lucio from Overwatch, right? And at the time, Gaku Space, the voice actor for Genji, was also in Toronto for Fan Expo. And I, being the little shit that I am, right? I brought this thing called Spider-Man to ask the voice actors if they could read the Chaucer's Spider-Man. So let me Chaucer is Shakespeare's favorite writer, by the way. He has a very good sense of humor. Shakespeare regularly wrote like sonnets and poetry for his like wife, obviously, right? So by the time he eventually fell in love, he stopped being like as like critical about like bad poetry, because he too is not always the best at it. So there's a Twitter called Chaucer.tweet, and he made specifically like he made a parody of Spider-Man's theme song. So it's written in the pentameter, right? So it is Shakespearean English, although it predates Shakespeare because it's Chaucer, Shakespeare's favorite writer. And hilariously, obviously the voice actor for Gaku Space was not like exactly enthused by my request, but the voice actor for Lucio was revealed that he used to do Shakespearean like he's done Shakespearean theater before, like way before he ever became a voice actor for video games. So he actually read this properly. However, I couldn't afford the $40 to record him reading it, so I'll read it very quickly. You remember your teacher clapping with each syllable in high school, right? So it's like soft clap, soft clap, soft clap, like that kind of shit, right? Or like soft clap, soft clap. So like no matter what, it's 10 syllables, but there's variation in it. So this would be like Spider-Man, doth all things a spider can, sundry webs he can weaven, things like flies he can catchen, lo anon cometh Spider-Man. Be he strong, listy bud, he has strange, chimerical blood, swingeth he from a thread, cast thine eye overhead, God wot, anon cometh Spider-Man. It's one of my like favorite modern goofy variants of the Spider-Man. Beautiful, yeah. Since I'm just gonna read off the Tempest off of like the shakespeare.mit.edu, like just /Tempest, like maybe I should post a link, but nah, that's fine. I'll read it and see how you guys like feel about it. So yeah, Act 1, Scene 1, on a ship at sea, a tempestuous noise of thunder and lightning heard, so that's a BGM. Enter a master and a boatswain. So, boatswain, I need to define, because I realize like it's not something you really use, but it's the ship's officer in charge of like equipment and crew, right? So like the master, boatswain. Here, master, what cheer, master? Actually, let me think about this. Yeah, no, I should probably show this now that I think about it, because, like, it's better to show the window than to risk, you guys getting lost. Right? Yeah. So, I'm still trying to figure out this formatting. No, the music's gone. You know what? I'll just open Firefox, and then like toss it in there, and then look up my like Persona BGM again. This is gonna take me some time to figure out how to like do this properly. I admit that. Paste and go. YouTube. I literally looked up like video game cafe music and it gave me Persona. So I was like, oh, I'll just go with it. Why not? Why not? Okay, so and like I like the fact it has rain music like in the background. Alright, let's do this. So I can probably do a window capture, right? For Firefox? Yeah, I can. Ta-da! No. Alright, Act 1, Scene 1. On a ship at sea, tempestuous noise of thunder and lightning heard. Enter a master and a boatswain. Master. Boatswain. Boatswain. Here, master. What cheer? The master. Good. Speak to the mariners. Fall to it, yarely. Or we run ourselves aground. Best steer, best steer. They both exit. Enter mariners. Boatswain. Hi, my hearts. Cheerily, cheerily, my hearts. Yara, yara. Take in the topsail, tend to the master's whistle, blow till thou burst thy wind, if room enough. And then like now you've got the cast coming in, right? You got enter Alonso, Sebastian, Antonio, Ferdinand, Gonzalo, and others. Just as a side note, if I made each of these as like little silhouette characters, if I illustrated them, I'd probably like plop them up like a visual novel about now, right? You'd fit the 4 main characters, and then you'd have the backgrounds, because it says the others, right? As like just gray silhouettes. That's the tradition you'd have now in like current visual novels. Alonso. Good boatswain, have care. Where's the master? Play the men. Boatswain. I pray now, keep below. Antonio. Where's the master, boatswain? Boatswain. Do you not hear him? You mar our labor. Keep your cabins. You do assist the storm. Gonzalo. Nay, good, be patient. Boatswain. When the sea is, hence, what cares these roarers for the name of king? To cabin, silence, trouble us not. Gonzalo. Good, yet remember whom thou hast aboard. Boatswain. None that I more love than myself. You are a counselor. If you can command these elements to silence and work the peace of the present, we will not hand a rope more. Use your authority. If you cannot, give thanks you have lived so long, and make yourself ready in your cabin for the mischance of the hour. If it so hap, cheerly, good hearts, out of our way, I say. The boatswain's basically telling them to, like, get the fuck out, like, no, get the fuck inside, stop, preventing us from doing our job. Gonzalo. So, like, they've exited. Gonzalo. I have great comfort from this fellow. Methinks he hath no drowning mark upon him. His complexion is perfect gallows. Stand fast, good fate. To his hanging, make the rope of his destiny our cable. For our own doth little advantage. If he be not born to be hanged, our case is miserable. Things are looking bad. And, like, he's like, well, this guy looks like he might not drown. But, like, his face doesn't look good. He's like, but since he looks like he'll probably live through it, he's like, or maybe he might not. Like, he's basically going back and forth, being like, oh shit, oh shit. Re-enter boatswain. Boatswain. Down with the topmast, yar. Lower, lower, bring her to try with main course. A cry within. A plague upon this howling. They are louder than the weather or our office. Re-enter Sebastian, Antonio, and Gonzalo. Yet again, why do you hear? Shall we give o'er and drown? Have you a mind to sink? Sebastian. A poxo your throat, you bowling, blasphemous, uncharitable dog. Boatswain. Work you then. Antonio. Hang, cur! Hang, you whoreson! Insolent noisemaker! We are less afraid to be drowned than thou art. Gonzalo, I'll warrant him for drowning, though the ship were no stronger than a nutshell, and as leaky as an unstaunched wench. I should probably, like, change the sizing for this. Hold on. Okay. I wish I could, like... I need to, like, build a UI on top of this later. Just so it looks like, you know, you're reading from a book. Yeah, I probably could, like, build a window on top, right? So it just looks like a book. I'll do it another time. Since I'm still testing out this format. Yeah, why not? There you go. I really like the insults in here. Like, Antonio's like, hang her, hang you, whoreson, insolent noisemaker. We are less afraid to be drowned than thou art. Gonzalo, I'll warrant him for drowning, though the ship were no stronger than a nutshell, and as leaky as an unstaunched wench. Oh, what an insult. Boatswain, let her a hold, set her 2 courses off to sea, again, let her off. Enter mariners, wet mariners. All lost to prayers, all lost. Boatswain, what? Must our mouths be cold? Gonzalo, the king and prince at prayers. Let's assist them, for our case is as theirs. Sebastian, I'm out of patience. Antonio, we are merely cheated of our lives by drunkards. This wide-chapped rascal, would thou mightest lie drowning, the washing of 10 tides? Gonzalo, he'll be hanged yet, though every drop of water swear against it, and gape at widest to glut him. Mercy on us! We split! Farewell, my wife and children! Farewell, brother! We split! Let's all sink with the king! Let's take leave of them! Exunt Antonio and Sebastian. And Gonzalo. How would I give 1,000 furlongs of sea for an acre of barren ground? Long heath, brown furs, anything. The wills above be done, but I would fain die a dry death. Let me lower this a bit. Yeah, there we go. Exunt. So basically, these guys, including the prince and the king of the, I forget where in Europe they're in. It's like around Italy, right? They're screwed. Their ship like snaps in half, and they're like, well, fuck, because a sudden storm just hit. So, scene 2, the island before Prospero's cell. Cell doesn't mean prison necessarily. It's just that Prospero's stuck on this island for like who knows how long now. So Miranda is Prospero's daughter. Enter Prospero and Miranda. If by your art, my dearest father, you have put the wild waters in this roar, allay them, the sky, it seems, would pour down stinking pitch, but that the sea, mountain to the welkin's cheek, dashes the fire out. Oh, I have suffered with those that I saw suffer, a brave vessel, who had no doubt some noble creature in her, dashed all to pieces. Oh, the cry did knock against my very heart. Poor souls, they perished. Had I been any god of power, I would have sunk the sea within the earth, or ere it should the good ship so have swallowed, and the frowning souls within her. She's basically like, oh shit, that like baller ship just like crashed. If I like could have changed its fate, I would have. Oh man. Noble here doesn't mean nobility of character. It means nobility of like, these guys are baller. Prospero, be collected. No more amazement. Tell your piteous heart. There's no harm done. So Prospero's like, no, don't worry. They're fine. Then Miranda's like, oh, woe the day. No harm. I have done nothing but in care of thee. O thee, my dear one, thee, my daughter, who art ignorant of what thou art, not knowing of whence I am, nor that I am more better than Prospero, master of a full poor cell, and thy no greater father. Prospero is like schooling his daughter here. Miranda, more to know, did never meddle with my thoughts. Prospero, 'tis time. I should inform the farther. Lend thy hand, and pluck my magic garment from me. So he puts down his mantle. Lie there, my art. Wipe thou thine eyes. Have comfort. The direful spectacle of the wreck which touched the very virtue of compassion in thee. I have with such provision in mine art, so safely ordered that there is no soul, no, not so much perdition as an hair. Actually, I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Beated to any creature in the vessel, which thou heardst cry, which thou sawest sink. Sit down, for thou must now know farther. So he's gonna school her on even more. So, like, he's kind of like her dad, like Prospero as a father is like just trying, like, schooling his daughter. Say like, oh man, you like got moved so easy. You cry so easy. That heart that's moved so easy of yours. So his art is like his skills. So the dad's like revealing that his spell ordered that no soul, like, so they're not gonna die, like perdition as a hair, like not a single hair is like gonna be damaged, right? Prospero, is a pretty badass name. That is true. It is a cool name. Miranda, you have often begun to tell me what I am, but stopped and led me to a bootless inquisition, concluding, stay, not yet. So every time her dad like starts to tell them what their backstory is, he stops. So like it just like she's like, you're just like kiting me along, Dad. I want to know. Prospero's like, the hours now come. Now is the time. The very minute bids thee ope thine ear. Obey and be attentive. Canst thou remember a time before we came unto this cell? I do not think thou canst, for then thou wast not out 3 years old. Miranda, certainly, sir, I can. By what? By any other house or person? Of anything the mage tell me that hath kept that with thy remembrance? Of anything the image tell me that hath kept with thy remembrance? Here you see the grammar is flipped, by the way. So it's closer to how East Asian languages work and like the other European languages. Because in English, modern English, we would say like, do you remember any image of your childhood? Is how we would say it. So, but here he says like, tell me about any image that you have kept in your remembrance, right? Joe Stars, yo, sup? I'm testing out a format since I said I was gonna read like The Tempest, Acts 1 and scene 2, so I'm on scene 2 right now. So Miranda is like telling, so far I've covered that like a ship like went like nearby this island. Miranda and her dad are like, Miranda is like, I have no memory of my childhood. And he's like, well, you were 3 when you came here. She's like, what? There was more? And she's like, well, yeah. And he's like, well, you always say there's more, but you never tell me, Dad. So their dad's like, now like being like, yo, I'm gonna tell you your backstory. I'm gonna school you real good, Miranda. So I'm here now. So he's like, Miranda, 'tis far off, and rather like a dream than an assurance, that my remembrance warrants. Had I not 4 or 5 women once that tended me? She's like, did I have servants? Is that true, Dad? Prospero, thou hast and more, Miranda. But how is it that this lives in thy mind? What seest thou else in the dark backward and abysm of time? If thou rememberest out ere thou carnest here, how thou camest here, thou mayest. So like the dad's like, you know, you're living in like not carnal pleasure, but carnus here is because like how crappy this island is that they're living in. They're like barely human. It's like, what else can you remember? And Miranda's like, but that I do not. Prospero's like, 12 years since, Miranda, 12 years since, thy father was Duke of Milan and a prince of power. So Miranda's basically like 15 now, right? Miranda's like, sir, are not you my father? Prospero's like, thy mother was a piece of virtue. And she said thou wast my daughter, and thy father was Duke of Milan, and thou his only heir, and princess no worse issued. So her dad's basically like bragging that like, yeah, your mom was a fine piece of virtue. And like, she's like, you be my daughter. Don't you know? Dad was Duke of Milan. Not Mulan. Milan. And you are like my only heir. Like, you're basically a princess. I'll let you know, Joe Stars, if I do Midsummer Dreams next. Rami says, even in Japanese, when they used to use loan words, they're at the end of the sentence in Japanese when they're at the beginning of English. It gets funnier. So English is the most backwards has the most backwards grammar in the world, according to my intro to anthropology prof. So he's traveled across like North America and like Europe, right? And then he realized that like even in the East Asian languages, it's the reverse. English is backwards everyone else. But if English is your only language, you think everyone else is backward. See, it's very relative to whatever your starting stats are, your disposition, right? Once again, no one gets to pick their starting stats. What you roll is what you roll. But it's nice to have the compassion and, like, empathy to realize that, oh, there's always someone out there that will think that you're backwards. But it's funnier when, like, it's the majority that sees you as backward. But you see yourself as forwards and everyone else as backward. Like, that's like one of my favorite things about anthropology. We call it cultural relativity when that kicks in. Anyway, Prospero just, like, dropped a bomb that, like, his wife was a piece of virtue. That's, like, it's a very nice compliment. A fine piece of virtue. You should use that. You should bring that back. Miranda's like, oh, the heavens, what foul play had we, that we came from thence, or blessed was it we did. So she's like, is this a curse or a blessing that we're on this, like, loser island? Or is this island a loser? How do we know? The dad's like, both, my girl. By foul play, as thou sayest, where we heaved thence, but blessedly hop hither. Hulp hither. Hulp. Anyway, Miranda. Oh, my heart bleeds to think, oh, the teen that I have turned you to, which is from my remembrance, please you farther. Yeah, so she's not taking this well. Prospero's like, my brother and thy uncle called Antonio, I pray thee, mark me that a brother should be so perfidious. He whom next thyself of all the world I loved, and to him put the manage of my state, as at the time, though all the signories, it was the first, and Prospero the prime duke, being so reputed in dignity and for the liberal arts, without a parallel, those being all my study, the government I cast upon my brother, and to my state grew stranger, being transported and wrapped in secret studies. Thy false uncle, dost thou attend me? He's basically like, yo, your uncle, I got him a job. I made him a manager at my, like, work in the state, but then he, like, fucking turn everyone against me. He's your false uncle. You hear? You attend to me? And Miranda's like, so most heedfully, like, she's totally paying attention. Yeah, what a jerk. He got him a job and he kicks him out of his own, like, position. Prospero's like, being once perfected how to grant suits, how to deny them, who to advance and who to trash for overtopping, new created, the creatures that were mine, I say, or changed em, or else new formed em, having both the key of officer and office, set all hearts in the state, to what tune pleased his ear, and now he was the ivy which had hid my princely trunk, and sucked my verdure out on it. Thou attendst not? So she's like, Prospero's like, basically, once, like, the uncle figured that he could, like, give away crap, he did. And then he started, like, trashing his place by buying off people that Prospero thought were loyal to him. Turns out they weren't. And once the uncle, what's his name? Antonio? Thy false uncle? Yeah, once Antonio, like, got the keys to the estate, he fucking, like, turned such a, like was such a turncoat that, like, he replaced all the good people with, like, yes men. So what tune that pleased his ear, right? So he's describing him as a fucking, like, leech, like an ivy that is, like, murdering the trunk of his healthy tree. The way mistletoe murders. Slowly, but surely. Miranda's like, oh, good sir, I do. So the dad's like, thou attendest not? Are you listening, kid? Like, I'm telling you. I'm schooling you on this shit. Prospero's like, I pray thee, mark me, I was neglecting worldly ends, all dedicated to closeness and the bettering of my mind, with that which, but by being so retired, o'erprized all popular rate, in my false brother, awakened an evil nature, and my trust, like a good parent, did beget of him, a falsehood in its contrary, as great as my trust was, which had indeed no limit, a confidence sans bound, he being thus lorded, not only with what my revenue yielded, but what my power might else exact, like one who having into truth, by telling of it, made such a sinner of his memory, to credit his own lie he did believe, he was indeed the Duke, out o' the substitution, and executing the outward face of royalty, with all prerogative, hence his ambition growing. Dost thou hear? So he's, Prospero's like, he was, like, busy, like, with his own, like, self-care, living his best life. Meanwhile, his brother was just, like, became more and more evil once he got more power, right? But, like, Prospero's, like, looking out for his brother, because, like, he's all he's got, so he basically thought he was parenting his little brother good. But turns out he was wrong. He's, like... And he, like, gave his brother unconditional trust, and it was a bad move, because his brother never got, criticized or like never grew as a person. Instead, he was overspoiled, and to the point that his brother got like his ego and confidence inflated so much that he lorded over Prospero's estate and took all his money. So that's his revenue yielded. So the power that like is actually Prospero's, sorry, it ended up like his brother ended up taking credit for everything. So he basically like started substituting himself as the Duke when in reality his brothers ain't. And like, you know, he's ending off with like, dost thou hear? It's like, you hear me, kid? You hear me, Miranda? Miranda is like, your tale, sir, would cure deafness. So she's like, yo, Dad, this story's so great that like the deaf would be cured. Holy shit, Dad. Prospero's like, to have no screen between this part he played, and him he played it, for he needs will be absolute Milan. Me, poor man, my library was dukedom large enough of temporal royalties. He thinks me now incapable. Confederates, so dry he was for sway with the King of Naples, to give him annual tribute, to him homage, subject his coronet to his crown, and Ben, the dukedom yet unbowed, alas, poor Milan, to most ignoble stooping. So he's like in part his brother played him good, right? To the point that like even like the entirety of Milan is like falling for his like bullshit. And then Prospero went from being prosperous to fucking poor. Even his like he's describing like how baller he was, how big his like library was, and like temporal royalties, like so that means like timeless like riches, right? But like his brother underestimates him. So dry he was for sway with the King of Naples. So his brother was so fake even to the King of Naples that like he convinced the King of Naples to like give him like yearly income, even like do him like make like pay him honor and homages, right? And then like to make it like even more legit, like has the crown and shit, and like is like bowing. He's like, yo, I'm totally the Duke. But in reality, like Prospero never bowed to this loser, to this bullshit. But it's caused such ignoble stooping, meaning that like they've dishonored themselves. Miranda is like, oh, the heavens. Yeah, he's a jerk, right? Prospero's like, mark his condition and the event, then tell me if this might be a brother. He's like, is this guy even worth calling a brother? Miranda's like, I should sin to think but nobly of my grandmother. Good wombs have borne bad sons. So she's like, oh, think of my poor grandma. Like, this asshole escaped from her, like, wonderful womb. Grandma's a great lady, but uncle's a little shit. Like, that's Miranda's, like, view. Yeah. Prospero. Now the condition, the king of Naples, being an enemy, to me inveterate, hearkens my brother's suit, which was that he, in lieu of the premises of homage, and I know not how much tribute, should presently extirpate me and mine out of the dukedom and confer fair Milan, with all the honours on my brother. Whereon a treacherous army levied, one midnight, fated to the purpose did Antonio open the gates of Milan, and in the dead of darkness, the ministers for the purpose harried thence, me and thy crying self. Basically, his brother even got, like, military power to, like, kick him and the remaining family. And then, like, take over his dukedom and, like, pretty much, like, hand it to, like, Milan, right? So he's like, so much for a honorable brother. What a little treacherous asshole with his treacherous army. But Prospero managed to save himself and his, like, crying infant daughter. Yeah. Hi, Orokami. I'm reading The Tempest from Shakespeare. We're on Act 1, Scene 2. The opening, the Act 1, Scene 1 was like Prospero's asshole brother, Antonio, the King of Milan, the Prince of Milan, and I forget who the fourth dude is. Anyway, ship sank. They're like right outside the island, and Prospero's like, excellent, I can't, like, let me tell you, daughter, Miranda, that your asshole uncle was on that ship. Don't worry, he's alive. But let me tell you why he's an asshole. And that's like Act 2, which I'm reading. So his brother basically stole the dukedom. So Miranda was originally a princess. And she's like, what? What do you mean I'm a princess? And the dad's like, yeah, you were a princess. But then my little brother, who didn't inherit the dukedom, basically raised an army, kicked us out, took all my shit, and is now like bowing to the king of Milan like it's totally him that's the duke when he's not. Yeah. The Rhino Man. Yeah, yo. So, like, since I got into the Ancient Magus Bride anime, I've wanted to read the Tempest for a while now. So I wanted to, like, get the backstory for some of the spirits that show up. So they're canon. Like, the characters from Shakespeare are considered canon in the Magus Bride. So Prospero is actually a mage here. But he's been kicked out of his home. He still has his powers, right? He mentions that, like, he has, like, a very, like, huge library, and he still has all his powers, which is why he made the ship sink. He didn't kill the people that are relevant to him getting revenge, right? So Miranda's like, alack for pity, I not remembering how I cried out then, will cry it over again. It is a hint that rings mine eyes to it. So she's crying now, because she realizes that, like, her dad saved her life, and that they've been, like, ruined on this, like, crappy island forever. Prospero's like, hear a little further, like, I got more to tell you, and then I'll bring thee to the present business. Like, we got business to do, which now is upon us, without the which this story were most impertinent. Like, I got more to say, and Miranda's like, wherefore did they not that hour destroy us? He's like, how come they didn't murder us? Prospero's like, well demanded, wench. He's like, good question. My tale provokes the question, dear. They durst not. So, dear, the love my people bore me, not set a mark so bloody on the business, but with colours fairer painted their foul ends. In few they hurried us aboard a bark, bore us some leagues to sea, where they prepared a rotten carcass of a boat not rigged, nor tackle, sail, nor mast. The very rats instinctively had quitted. There they hoist us, to cry to the sea, and roared to us, to sigh, to the winds whose pity, sighing back again, did us but loving wrong. Miranda's like, alack, what trouble was I then to you? So basically, not everybody was crappy where they were at. They technically put them on a rotting boat. Then they ditched them. So they did, like, it's wrong, but they still love them, like, his people, even though, like, his brother, like, totally took everything important. Prospero, oh, a cherubim, thou wast that did preserve me. Thou didst smile, infused with the fortitude from heaven, when I have decked the sea with drops full salt, under my burden groaned, which raised in me an undergoing stomach to bear up against what should ensue. Basically, his smiling infant daughter, Miranda was 3 at the time, kept him sane. The fact that she didn't understand what was happening made him like instant dad mode. Like if we talk about like moms having like instant like powerful mother powers, he however got like instant like fatherly powers. Oh no, share a bum. Oh dear. Miranda, how came we ashore? Like, how the hell did we get here? To this crappy island. Prospero's like, by providence divine. He's like, oh yeah, it's totally divine providence. You know how America was found. I mean, no, I'm kidding. Some food we had and some fresh water that a noble Neapolitan, Gonzalo, out of his charity, being then appointed master of this design, did give us, with rich garments, linen, stuffs, and necessaries, which since have steaded much, so of his gentleness, knowing I loved my books, he furnished to me, from mine own library with volumes that I prize above my dukedom. Prospero is such a magical mage that he's like, I got books that are worth more than the fucking dukedom. Like, and thanks to like his brother of another mother, the noble Neapolitan Gonzalo, they had shit to like keep them alive and like basic like foods and like necessities. This is why they're not dead. How's my Saturday? I like woke up late, rolled around, ate stuff. Who needs food and water when I got books? Screw y'all. Yeah, that's Prospero, all right. Rana's like, would I might but ever see that man? Like, she's like, yo, if I see this uncle, he's gonna be dead. Prospero's like, now I arise. He like puts on his like his mage mantle, and he's like, sit still and hear the last of our sea sorrow. Here in this island we arrived, and here have I, thy schoolmaster, made thee more profit than other princesses can, that have more time for vainer hours, and tutors not so careful. So like the dad's like, yo, I like dad moded so hard that you're like way more fucking educated than any princess. You would have been spoiled blind, right? But now you're literate. Like in the like if it wasn't for this like crappy fact that we're like in the middle of nowhere in the ocean, the sea sorrow, like you'd be like fan-fucking-tastic. Miranda's like, heavens, thank you for it, and now I pray you, sir, for still 'tis beating in my mind your reason for raising this sea storm. Shakespeare here is paying a compliment to Queen Elizabeth I. Queen Elizabeth I, a little bit of back history, it was third in line to the throne. She had a little brother and an older sister that both became king. Like, first, her little brother became king of England, but he was, like, very sickly, and he died, like, before he even hit 19. Then her older sister, Mary, also known as Bloody Mary, unfortunately, Mary became Queen of England after. So, meanwhile, Elizabeth is, like, well, her dad sent her off to, like, be educated by the best tutors in England, right? And under rule by her little brother and her older sister, she just kept studying, like, the same shit her dad wanted her to do. So Elizabeth had no thoughts of ever becoming queen, but unfortunately her older sister suffered a bunch of miscarriages and died as well. So then Queen Elizabeth was like, holy shit, I'm becoming queen, what the fuck, right? But by virtue of her dad educating her so well, we say that the Elizabethan era is a golden era in British history. So this little bit scene here is a tribute to Queen Elizabeth and like complimenting her, and also complimenting the long past king, King Henry VIII, for like educating her so well. Because the truth is, in British culture at this time, it's rare for dads to spend that much time educating their daughters, especially. It's very subtle. Yeah, I'm on a laptop tonight because it's cold. Yeah, I'm in my bed. I have like 4 blankets on because it's cold. I am Canadian. No camera tonight. I'll probably like do camera for when I do more of this, but I'm gonna like finish washing all my like maid cafe clothing, because I used to run the university maid cafe for charity events. So I'm just like doing the same shit I would have been doing anyway. So donate to Extra Life Sick Kids charity for sick kids hospitals across North America, or you can buy me a coffee with the link below. Yeah. So thanks for like dropping by, Vitamin G2. All right. yeah, so like back to here, Miranda's like, yeah, if I see my uncle, I'm gonna beat him. So yeah, Miranda's like, heavens thank you for it, and now I pray you, sir, for still 'tis beating in my mind your reason for raising this sea storm. She's like, but dad, like, you're like a mage. Why did you like do all this like sea storm magic, dad? Prospero's like, no, thus far forth, by accident most strange, bountiful fortune with the capital F. Now, my dear lady, hath mine enemies brought to this shore, and by my prescience I find my zenith doth depend upon a most auspicious star, whose influence, if now I court not but omit my fortunes, will ever after droop. Here cease more questions, thou art inclined to sleep. 'Tis a good dullness, and give it way. I know thou canst not choose. Miranda like goes to sleep, and then like Prospero's like, come away, servant, come. I am ready now. Approach my Ariel, come. I'm gonna have to like, hold on. Let me do something really quick. I'm not sure if you guys know what like, so oh no, it's ad block. That's okay. Ancient Magus Bride. Ariel. So the Ariel that they're mentioning right here is the same Ariel from Ancient Magus Bride. So just as a quick thing from the, it's this like fairy like being, right? So the Ariels is the race of these things. They come from like Celtic lore, if I remember right. They're fairies. So, so Prospero's basically like talking to this Ariel right now, alright? So he's like, oh, hold on, let me open up. Yeah. So like, so that's like a quick blurb of this is an Ariel, and that's what Prospero's talking to. So it's not a human, it's a fairy, right? So he calls them, come away, servant, come. I am ready now. Approach my Ariel, come. Enter Ariel. So Prospero's a pretty powerful mage. Like, you just, like, call up an Ariel, like, just like that. The Ariel's like, all hail, great master. Grave sir, hail. I come to answer thy best pleasure. Be it to fly, to swim, to dive into the fire, to ride on the curled clouds, to thy strong bidden task. Ariel and all his quality. He's basically like, yo, I'm gonna do whatever it is you tell me, buddy. I be master. All hail to you. Prospero's like, hast thou, spirit, perform it to point the tempest that I bade thee? It's basically, yo, did, like, I summon you to, like, cause a tempest. Did you do it? Ariel's like, to every article. I boarded the king's ship, now on the beak, now in the waist, the deck, in every cabin. I flamed amazement. Sometimes I'll divide and burn in many places. On the topmast, the yards, and bowsprit would I flame distinctly, then meet and join. Jove's lightnings, the precursors, oh, the dreadful thunderclaps, more momentary and sight outrunning were not. The fire and cracks of sulphurous roaring, the most mighty Neptune, seemed to besiege and make his bold waves tremble. Ye, his dread trident shake. So Ariel's quoted, just name drop 2 Greek/Roman gods. Jove is Zeus. Neptune is like Poseidon. Like, oh shit, man. Like, he's like, yo, I like did what you asked, and I like caused a calamity for you, buddy. Prospero's like, my brave spirit, who was so firm, so constant, that this coil would not infect his reason? Ariel, not a soul, but felt a fever of the mad and played, some tricks of desperation, all but mariners, plunged in the foaming brine and quit the vessel. Then all afire with me, the king's son, Ferdinand, with hair upstaring, then, like reeds, not hair, was the first man that leaped, cried, hell is empty, and all the devils are here. Man, this one's much more pyromanical. Start a bunch of fires on the boats, cause fuck them guys. Yeah, like, cause his master's Prospero, right? Prospero the mage was like, yo, you gotta like, he starts a fire, he made like the ship snap in half, and he's like, just like destroying that shit, just cause he can. And then Prospero's like, oh, you brave spirit, right? Like, you did this, like, you got me. And then so Ariel's like, yeah, I made sure every soul was, like, screwed over. Like, he made them, like, fever mad, right? Like they're like, oh shit, and they're all like desperate. Everyone except the mariners. So like the mariners are the people who actually work on the ship, like because they went down with the ship, right? Whereas everybody else jumped off board. Prince Ferdinand, Prospero doesn't have anything against Ferdinand, by the way. The king he doesn't have anything against, because the king and Ferdinand have been scammed by his brother Antonio to thinking that like Antonio's the Duke of Milan when he's not. What an asshole, right? But like I like how the prince is like, hell is empty and all devils are here. Oh fuck. Prospero's like, why? That's my spirit. But was not this nigh shore? Ariel, close by, my master. So he's like, where are they at? Bruh. And Ariel's like, yeah, they're nearby. Prospero, but are they, Ariel, safe? Because that was the requirement. You sink their ship, but you don't murder them all. Ariel's like, not a hair perished. Like, they're fine. On their sustaining garments, not a blemish. Yo, that shit, like, rhymes, man. That's a slant rhyme. Not a hair perished, and then, like, not a blemish. Oh, yeah. Yeah, like, Shakespeare's just dropping them beats. But fresher than before, and as thou badest me, in troops I have dispersed them, bout the isle. The king's son have I landed by himself, whom I left cooling of the air with sighs, in an odd angle of the isle, and sitting, his arms in this sad knot. So, like, he's sitting around being, like, emo. Like, the prince is just separated from everyone else, right? Prospero's like, oh, the kingship, the mariners, say how thou hast disposed, and all the rest of the fleet. Ariel's like, yo, they're safely in the harbor, is the kingship, in the deep nook, where once thou call'st me up at midnight to fetch dew. He's like, yo, I left in the place where, like, I grabbed you water that one time. From the still vexed Bermuths. There she's hid, the mariners all under hatches stowed, who with the charm joined to their suffered labour, I have left asleep, and for the rest of the fleet, which I dispersed, they all have met again, and are upon the Mediterranean floating, bound sadly home for Naples. Suppose that they saw the king shipwrecked, and his great person perish. So, like, he scammed the entire fleet to think, oh, the king's totally dead, guys. But in reality, like, they're fine. Even the ship's fine. G2's like bit of a pyro in Fortnite. Use firefly jars and flame bows and burn a lot of structures. Oh no! Prospero's like, Ariel, thy charge exactly is performed. He's like, oh, you did it. You did exactly what I told you. I charged you to do. But there's more work. What is the time of the day? Ariel's like, past the mid-season. Like, we're about halfway through the day. Prospero's like, at least 2 glasses. The time twixt 6 and now must by us both be spent most preciously. Yo, you gotta be detailed now, buddy. Ariel's like, is there more toil? Since thou dost give me pains, let me remember thee what thou hast promised, which is not yet performed me. Prospero, how's now, Moody? What is it thou canst demand? Ariel, my liberty. He's like, come on, summoner, you're supposed to free me? He's like, well, what do you want? You want to be freed? Oh, fine. Prospero's like, before the time be out, no more. He's like, you want to be like, you want to be freed before you've done, like, you fulfilled our contractual time? Like, hell no. Ariel's like, I prithee, remember, I have done thee worthy service, told thee no lies, made thee no mistakings, served without or grudge or grumblings. Thou didst promise to bait me a full year. He's like, you're supposed to release me after a year, buddy. I did, like, everything. Prospero's like, dost thou forget from what a torment I did free thee? Prospero's like, yo, I like, am a mage that, like, freed you. So you owe me. Ariel's like, no, I don't. Of course I remember, like, the work you put into freeing me. Prospero's like, thou dost, and thinkest it much to tread the ooze of the salt deep, to run upon the sharp wind of the north, to do me business in the veins of the earth, when it is baked with frost? Ariel's like, I do not, sir. It's like, what are you, trying to, like, dip now before, like, it's the, you know, the right time? Like, the winds isn't even it's basically not been a year yet. Like, the season isn't correct to let him go. Prospero's like, thou liest, malignant thing! Hast thou forget the foul witch Sycorax, who with age and envy was grown into a hoop? Hast thou forgot her? Ariel, no, sir. Prospero, thou hast. Where was she born? Speak, tell me. Ariel's like, sir, in RGA. Oh, was she so? I must, once in a month, recount that what thou hast been, which thou forgettest. This damned witch Sycorax, for mischiefs manifold and sorceries terrible, to enter human hearing from Argier, thou knowest was banished for one thing she did. They would not take her life. Is not this true? Aye, sir. Prospero, this blue-eyed hag was hither brought with child, and here was left by the sailors. Thou, my slave, as thou reportest thyself, was then her servant, and for thou wast a spirit too delicate to act her earthly and abhorred commands. Refusing her grand hests, she did combine thee, by help of her more potent ministers, and in her most unmitigable rage, into a cloven pine, within which rift imprisoned thou didst painfully remain, a dozen years, within which space she died, and left thee there, where thou didst vent thy groans, as far as mulewheels strike. Then was this island, save for the sun that she did litter here, a freckled whelp hag born, not honoured with a human shape. Yes, Caliban, her son. So this little bit is the backstory for how Ariel was imprisoned in a pine tree and couldn't get out because the sorceress Sycorax punished Ariel for not like obeying their orders. And Sycorax has a son that's like has freckles. Is Caliban is the son's name, but even the son didn't free Ariel, so Ariel was like pretty like screwed over. Prospero's like, dull thing, I say so. He, that Caliban, with now I keep in service, thou best knowest what torment I did find thee in. Thy groans did make wolves howl, and penetrate the breasts of ever angry bears. It was a torment to lay upon the damned, which Sycorax could not again undo, since Sycorax like died off, right? It was mine art, which I arrived and heard thee, that made gape the pine and let thee out. So the Prospero's like, yo, mine like magical powers. It was me that got you out. You heard me? It was me. Like, you cried so hard that even like bears got like angry just hearing you. And wolves going like, shut up. Ariel's like, I thank thee, master. Prospero's like, if thou more murmurest, I will rend an oak, and peg thee in his naughty entrails, till thou hast howled away 12 winters. So Ariel's like, was like actually in the tree for like quite a long time, right? Prospero's like, you know what, I'm gonna stuff you in another oak tree if you complain. I'm like, I'm gonna ditch you there for like 12 winters. That's 12 years. Ariel's like, pardon, master, I will be correspondent to command, and do my spiriting gently. He's like, what he means by gently is like, I'll be like more patient and careful, okay? Like I'll listen to you, all right? Like don't put me in a tree. Prospero's like, do so, and after 2 days I will discharge thee. So Prospero's like, you know what? The deal's a deal. In 2 days I'm gonna let you go. Ariel's like, that's my noble master. What shall I do? Say, what shall I do? For you, right? Prospero's like, go make thyself like a nymph of the sea. Be subject to no sight but thine and mine, invisible to every eyeball else. Go take this shape, and hither come in it, go, hence with diligence. He's basically telling him, telling Ariel, like, the orders, right? Like, go become a nymph, okay? Like, get out of my sight. Just go work, go do it. Now, Ariel's like, bust out. So Prospero's like, awake, dear heart, awake. Thou hast slept well, awake. So he's like, yo, wake up, daughter. Wake up, my dear. Miranda's like, the strangeness of your story put heaviness in me. He's like, yo, dad, that was like heavy. Prospero, shake it off. Yes, you gotta shake it off, like that Mariah Carey song, okay? Come on. We'll visit Caliban, my slave, who never yields us kind answer. So Sycorax's son is servant to Prospero. There's a reason for why. There's a reason for why. I'll get there. Miranda's like, "'Tis the villain, sir. I do not love to look on." She's like, "He's an asshole. He's a villain. I don't want to look at this guy." Ugh, Caliban. Prospero's like, "But as 'tis, we cannot miss him. He does make our fire, fetch in our wood, and serves in offices that profit us. What ho, slave, Caliban! Thou earth, thou, speak." Caliban, like, he's like, Caliban, like, does our shit. Like, he does, like, menial labor, you know? It's not that bad. Still pretty bad. Caliban's like, "There's wood enough within." "You already have enough wood." Prospero's like, "Come forth, I say. There's other business for thee. Come, thou tortoise. When?" He's like, "Oh, you're so slow. Like, get here. I got, like, business with you." Ariel, like, comes back as, like, a pretty water nymph. Prospero's like, "Ah, fine apparition, my quaint Ariel. Hark in thine ear." He's like, "Ah, that's a pretty Ariel." Ariel's like, "My lord, it shall be done." He's like, "Okay, you look good. Okay, go." Prospero's like, "Thou poisonous slave." Like, he just does not like Caliban, right? Get by the devil himself. Upon thy wicked dam. Come forth. Enter Caliban. Caliban says, "As wicked do, as e'er my mother brushed, with raven's feather from unwholesome fen, drop on you both, as southwest blows on ye, and blister you all over." Caliban's, like, cursing him the moment he sees him, right? Prospero's like, "For this, be sure, tonight thou shalt have cramps." Like, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna curse you back. You're gonna be cramped. Side stitches that shall pen thy breath up. Urchins shall for the vast of night that they may work. All exercise on thee. Thou shalt be pinched as thick as honeycomb. Each pinch more stinging than bees that made him." Oh, man. Prospero's like, he's mean. But Caliban's like, "Well, I must eat my dinner. This island's mine by Sycorax, my mother, which thou takest from me. When thou camest first, thou strokest me and madest of me. Wouldst give me water and berries in it, and teach me how to name the bigger light and how the less, that burn to day and night. And then I loved thee, and showed thee all the qualities of the isle, the fresh springs, brine pits, barren place, and fertile. Cursed be I that did so, all the charms of Sycorax. Toads, beetles, bats light on you, for I am all the subjects that you have, which first was mine own king. And here you sty me in this hard rock, whilst you do keep from me the rest of the island." So, initially when Prospero arrived, he was actually really nice to Caliban. He actually taught him all sorts of things, right? But Caliban's complaining, well, like, "But now you've, like, made it like that. I don't even have control over myself. Like, he's not his own king. Like, he has no self agency anymore, because he's, like, I'm not sure if he's attached to the hard rock, or chained to it, or, like, he's just, like, imprisoned. Prospero's like, "Thou most lying slave, whom stripes may move, not kindness, I have used thee, filth as thou art, with human care, and lodged thee in mine own cell, till thou didst seek to violate the honor of my child." She's like, "Caliban, you're lying. I didn't take your agency from you. I'm punishing you because you repaid my kindness by trying to, like, do dishonor upon my daughter, like, violate her. You asshole." And Caliban's like, "Oh ho, I would have had been done." He's like, "Oh, I would have done it too. If thou didn't prevent me, I had peopled else this isle with Calibans." So he's like, "Yo, I would have had, like, babies with your daughter. I would have peopled this island with more of me." And Prospero's like, "Well, you little shit." He's like, "Abhorred slave, which any print of goodness wilt not take, being capable of all ill, I pitied thee, took pains to make thee speak, taught thee each hour one thing or other, when thou didst not, savage, know thine own meaning, but wouldst gabble like a thing most brutish. I endowed thy purposes with words that made them known. But thy vile race, though thou didst learn, had that in it which good natures could not abide to be with. Therefore wast thou deservedly confined into this rock, who hast deserved more than a prison." He like, The dad's angry. Prospero's like, this is why you're enslaved, because you're an asshole. Like, there's only like the 3 of them on the island, right? You can only do so much to punish him. Dishonor upon you, dishonor upon your family, dishonor upon your cow. Permitted term cow? Why is cow unpermitted? I have questions. Caliban's like, you taught me language, and my profit on it is I know how to curse. The red plague rid you for learning me your language. Caliban's like, well, so what? You taught me how to talk. And like, the one great thing about learning how to speak your language is that I can curse in your language. He's like, but I still like curse you. I curse you for teaching me your language. Prospero's like, hag seed hence. Fetch us in fuel, and be quick. Thou art best to answer other business. Struggst thou malice? If thou neglectest, or dost unwillingly, what I command, I'll rack thee with old cramps. Fill all thy bones with aches. Make thee roar, that beasts shall tremble at thy din. So Prospero's like, cursing him back. It's like, you turn your mouths against me? Well, whatever, I'm gonna curse you back. And like, unlike Caliban, Prospero has magic. So like, when he says he curses him, like, it's like, oh shit. Caliban's like, no, you should say your prayers. No, pray thee. And an aside. So this is like, Caliban would turn to the audience. So he's breaking the 4th wall. He's like, I must obey. His art is of such power. It would control my dam's god, Setebos, and make a vassal of him. So he's like, holy shit. Prospero is so strong. He could even control the gods of his mother, Setebos. So Prospero's like, so slave, hence. He's like, well, get out. And Caliban leaves. Re-enter Ariel, invisible, playing and singing. Ferdinand is following Ariel. Ariel's song. Come unto these yellow sands, and then take hands. Curtsied when you have, and kissed. The wild waves whist, foot in feetly, here and there, and sweet sprites, the burthened bear. Hark, hark! The burthen, dispersed within, the watchdogs bark. Burthen bow wow! Hark, hark! I hear the strain of strutting chanticleer. Cry, cock-a-doodle-doo! Ferdinand's like, where's this music coming from? Where should this music be? The air or the earth? It sounds no more, and sure it waits upon some god o' the island, sitting on a bank, weeping again the king my father's wreck. This music crept by me upon the waters, allaying both their fury and my passion. With its sweet air, thence I have followed it, or it hath drawn me farther, but 'tis gone. No, it begins again. So Ariel is singing to him. Full fathom 5 thy father lies, of his bones are coral made. Those are pearls that were his eyes, nothing of him that doth fade, but doth suffer a sea change into something rich and strange. Sea nymphs hourly ring his knell. And then there's like, you're supposed to hear a ding dong in the background. He's like, hark! Now I hear them. The ding dong of the bell again. Ferdinand's like, the ditty does remember my drowned father, so it's a bit like a dirge. This is no mortal business, nor no sound that the earth owes. I hear it now and above me. He's like, where the hell is this music coming from, man? Prospero's like, the fringed curtains of thine eye advance, and say what thou seest yond. Miranda's like, what is it, a spirit? Miranda is not aware Ariel's like doing all the shit, right? She's like, Lord, how it looks about. Believe me, sir, it carries a brave form, but tis a spirit. Prospero's like, no, wench, it eats and sleeps, and hath such senses as we have, such. This gallant which thou seest was in the wreck, and but he's something stained with grief. That's beauty's canker. Thou mightest call him a goodly person. He hath lost his fellows, and strays about to find him. So Prospero's like judging Ferdinand as, he seems like a decent person. He's actually looking for survivors. Whereas Miranda's was like, oh, is this a spirit, Dad? Oh, it looks like pretty like brave, like looking about, right? It's like, oh, but it's gotta be a spirit. And then Miranda's like, well, okay, I might call him a thing divine for nothing natural I ever saw so noble. So she's like, she's like love at first sight, being like, yo, that guy's like kind of hot, dad. And Prospero, like an aside to the audience, he's like, it goes on, I see, as my soul prompts it. Spirit, fine spirit, I'll free thee within 2 days for this. So Prospero is very satisfied with Ariel's work. He's like, yep, 2 days, I must set Ariel free. Excellent. Ferdinand's like, most sure the goddess of whom these airs attend, vouchsafe my prayer, may know if you remain upon this island, and that you will some good instructions give, how I may bear me here. My prime request, which I do last pronounce, is, oh, you wonder if you be maid or no? This guy's sweet talking is pretty good, because he's like, he thinks he sees like some kind of like goddess, but he's like, oh wait, you're a maid, you're human. Okay. Miranda's like, no wonder, sir, but certainly a maid. Ferdinand's like, my language, heavens! I am the best of them that speak this speech, were I but where 'tis spoken. Ferdinand's like, oh, I recognize this language. Prospero's like, how? The best? What wert thou, if the king of Naples heard thee? Prospero's like, he's like, yo, like, you think you're the best at this language? Like, what would the king of Naples think? Ferdinand's like, a single thing, as I am now, that wonders, to hear the speak of Naples. He does hear me, and that he does, I weep. Myself am Naples, who with mine eyes never such an ebb beheld the king my father wrecked. So, like, Ferdinand is like, oh, you reminded me of Naples. He's like, well, I'm a Naples. Naples person. Naples citizen, basically. But, like, now he's losing it. He's crying because he thought his dad was wrecked and dead. Miranda's like, oh, alack for mercy. Ferdinand's all like, yes, yes, faith, and all his lords, the Duke of Milan, and his brave son being twain. Prospero's like, turns to the audience, he's like, the Duke of Milan, and his more braver daughter could control thee. If now 'twere fit to do it. At the first sight, they have changed eyes. Delicate Ariel, I'll set thee free for this. He's like, oh, I owe the Ariel one. Because, he's like, Prospero's the real Duke of Milan, and, like, the fake Duke of Milan, his, little brother has a son that's, like, totally faking it. So then, Prospero, like, turns to Ferdinand. A word, good sir. I fear you have done yourself some wrong. A word. Miranda's like, why speaks my father so ungently? This is the third man that I saw. The first, that error I sighed for. Pity moved my father to be inclined my way. So, Miranda's like, how can my daughter, like, Miranda's like, how can my dad not feel bad for this guy? Like, he's being so mean. Ferdinand's like, oh, if a virgin, and your affection not gone forth, I'll make you the Queen of Naples. He's like, so Ferdinand's like, oh shit, if you're like not married, I like would make you queen of my country. Smooth talking, this guy. What a sweet talker. Oh my god. Prospero's like, soft sir, one word more. And then like Prospero's like turning to the audience. They're both in either's powers. But this swift business I must uneasy make, lest too light winning make the prize light. So he turns to, he's like, oh my god, this is so easy. Like, Prospero's got plans, man. Then he turns to Ferdinand, he's like, one word more, I charge thee, that thou attend me. Thou dost here usurp the name thou owest not, and hast put thyself upon this island as a spy to win it from me, the lord on it. So he's like accusing Ferdinand. He's like, oh, if you say one thing more, he's like, are you trying to kick me out? Are you trying to like take over my island? Are you a spy? Ferdinand's like, no, as I am a man. He's like, yo, I'm just a guy. Ferdinand's like, there's nothing ill can dwell in such a temple. If the ill spirit have so fair a house, good things will strive to dwell with it. So Miranda's like, he looks so good, Dad. How could he possibly be, like, bad? His body is a temple? Oh, Miranda's a smooth-talking lady, too. Prospero's like, follow me. Speak not you for him. He's a traitor. Come, I'll manacle thy neck and feet together. Sea water shall thou drink. Thy food shall be the fresh brook mussels, withered roots and husks, wherein the acorn cradled. Follow. Prospero's like, taking him as a prisoner. Ferdinand's like, no, I will resist with entertainment till mine enemy has more power. But he draws and he's charmed for moving. Miranda's like, oh dear father, make not too rash a trial of him, for he's gentle, not fearful. Like, she's so in love. She's like, no, Dad, don't be so mean. And like, Prospero's like, what? I say, my foot? My tutor? Put thy sword up, traitor. Who makest a show but darest not strike? Thy conscience is so possessed with guilt. Come from thy ward, for I can here disarm thee with this stick and make thy weapons drop. Prospero's like, oh yeah, I'ma use my stick and like stop you. And Miranda's like, please, Dad, beseech you, father. Prospero's all like, hence, hang not on my garments. So she's like pulling Dad, being like, no, Dad. Miranda's all like, sir, have pity. I'll be his surety. She's like, come on, Dad. Like, you have my guarantee. And Prospero's all like, silence, one word more, shall make me chide thee, if not hate thee. What? An advocate for an impostor? Hush! Thou thinkst there is no more much shapes as he. Having seen but him and Caliban, foolish wench, to the most of men, this is a Caliban, and they to him are angels. So Prospero's like, silly daughter, there's like tons of men on this world, right? Caliban is like the worst, like the absolute hideous, like worst person ever, right? So every man is basically an angel compared to Caliban. So you're like biased. Yeah, so she's basically, but Dad, like Miranda's like, my affections are then most humble. I have no ambition to see a goodlier man. Miranda's like, nope, Dad, I've made my decision. I don't need to see better men. This is the one. Prospero's like, come on, obey. Thy nerves are in their infancy again. I have no vigor in them. He's like, you're just young and you've never seen others, man. Like, your like emotions are like young. She's only 15 here, right? So Dad's like, come on. Ferdinand's like, so they are. My spirits, as in a dream, are all bound up. My father is lost. The weakness which I feel, the wreck of all my friends, nor this man's threats, to whom I am subdued, are but light to me. Might I but through my prison once a day behold this maid, all corners else of the earth, let liberty make use of, space enough, have I in such a prison. Ferdinand's like everything's gone to garbage, right? Like his dad's gone, his friend's gone. These threats are like, well, whatever. He's like, they're like light threats because like he's already lost everything important. But like if this is his prison, at least once a day he'll see this like cute girl, this maid. He's gonna see Miranda, right? So he's like, it can't be that bad. I mean, Miranda's around, right? Like, is this my prison? Like, is this it? Prospero's like, it works. To Ferdinand, come on, thou hast done well. Fine, Ariel. And then to Ferdinand, he's like, and like to the Ariel, he's like, follow me. Hark, what else shalt do me? He's like, well, what else do I gotta do? Miranda's like, be of comfort. My father is of a better nature, sir, than he appears by speech. This is unwonted, which now came from him. Miranda's like, my dad's not always like this, okay? Like, he's a lot better than this usually, alright? Like, this is not what my dad's usually like. Prospero's all like, her dad's like, thou shalt be free, as mountain winds, but then exactly do all points of my command. So Prospero's like, okay, yeah, you know what? As long as you, like, do what I say, you'll be free. Ariel's like, to the syllable? It's like I have your word. Prospero's like, come, follow, speak not for him. And like he's like, Ariel, like you're not talking for him. He has to prove to me that he'll listen and he'll do as I say. Yep. So that's it for Act 1, Scene 1 and 2. So next, I guess I can do Act 2 like Monday. Take a day in between. Discussion wise, what do you guys think? How can I make this format more fun? Boing. Yeah, righto man. But Dad! I don't know who's still in here. Do you guys like Shakespeare so far? Ho ho. Say sunrise like hydrate. Yeah, I still got water. It's nice. My one water bottle has I still have like a third of it left. So that was enough to go through Act 1. Any comments? Any requests, suggestions? Like the previous request I got was Midsummer Night's Dream. I'll do that next after this. It might be a little work, but you could make little figures and shake them when they're talking. Yeah, I can draw characters, little silhouettes. You haven't studied Shakespeare since high school, so it's been a while? Yeah, that I can understand. I've got, I think I have the Pardoner's Tale as well, but I have it as like a physical book. I also have Beowulf. Like I can also read Beowulf at some point. Beowulf is much older than Shakespeare. It's the oldest story in the English language. However, it's a translation. I also took a course on Shakespearean. So it was called In Search of the Marvelous, the Quest for Romance. So it's King Arthur based literature and mythology, right? So we covered like all sorts of writers that wrote about King Arthur and the myth, including Mary of France. There's like a history like of the kings of England that Geoffrey de Monmouth made. Like these are all like source materials for like Shakespeare's later writings too. So I could cover that at some point. I could even like read Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, written by and like I actually have not read the Mabinogi, but I have a copy of it by Pwyll, Prince of Dyfed. And then I've got let me check. Yeah, I've got like a bunch of things from Geoffrey Chaucer, one of my favorite people. Chaucer's hilarious, man. The Pardoner's Tale is also known as the Hallow. What do you call them? Like it's the Deathly Hallows in Harry Potter is based off of Geoffrey Chaucer's The Pardoner's Tale. So I've got the prologue and the full tale. So I can read those for fun. Like for those I'll have to like actually, I don't have like a digital copy of them. I have a physical copy of the book, so I'd like straight up read it. And if you guys like the format I've done so far, well, actually I'm not sure if I should scan it. I mean, these should be in the public domain because they're from, wait, what year is this? It's so old. Holy shit. I actually learned calligraphy just because I like Chaucer's font. Like, I like the way he writes. But I think it's like 1200? Is it 1200? Let me double check what year. Come on. Chaucer wrote in... no, that's the prologue. He wrote a long time ago. Oh, no. Geoffrey Chaucer is contemporary with Shakespeare. He's only a little older than him, so he's like from the 1400s. So he should also be in public domain. It's a puppet theater. It'd be paper theater. So it'd be something very closer to visual novels. I could do like paper silhouettes, and draw some of them. Little figures and shake them when they're talking. I think like it'd be funny for me to like have. Do you guys have backgrounds I can use though? Do you mind if I just draw a stage and just toss them on it? Because I thought I can program a thing in Python, but then that'd be straight up just me playing a game, right? Whereas like this would be something else. I can redo Act 1, Scene 1, but with like little characters and have like UIs at the bottom. Shakespearean visual novel building, and then I can like, you can like Patreon me to like, I don't know how Patreon works in Canada. I don't think it'll. Hilariously, Thunderbolt Fantasy had an actual Nendoroido as a relevant plot device. You could also like just like, because if I do this as like a bi-weekly thing, that'd be kind of fun, I think. Yeah. Yeah, and then like I could like legit build a game around it at some point. But what would I do? Because like I think like for the Tempest, the best like it'd just be like, oh, you died. It's like you release the aerial early. The aerial destroys everything. That'd be pretty bad. Like no lie. It's like that's not the ending you wanted. Do you guys like the Persona? But like, do you guys like the Persona music, the cafe music, or is it too like ridiculous? I think one thing I could do is I can illustrate under the Magus Bride art style, or I can draw the fan art of the ancient Magus Bride characters and just have them in the as the silhouettes. Then I can like read each of them. The other thing is like I don't exactly have reference images for each of the characters, so I just draw them based on like what I can think of, right? You can't hear the music? Really? Okay, hold on. It's really light. Can you hear it now? With Shakespeare, you can probably just make interpretations of what you think the characters look like. Yeah, I think I'll like stick to just like playing Persona jazz music. It was extremely faint before. Oh, sorry about that. So yeah, I'm done my like Shakespeare for the day. Menu. So we've done Act 1, Scene 1, Act 1, Scene 2, and discussion. Yeah, it's Persona music. So, intro to Shakespeare is done. So, what's up for menu now? What can I like read to you guys? Do you guys have any anything you want me to read? Oh, I know what I'm gonna read next. Hold on. Iwata, Nintendo. It's the book is called I'll read a couple blurbs from it. So Ask Iwata, Words of Wisdom. From Satoru. Iwata. Nintendo's legendary CEO. Wait. So this came out, is it a month now? You're gonna hop off? Thanks for dropping by, Vitamin. G2. You learned a lot. Oh man. Thanks for being interested in literature. Yeah, I'm gonna go grab more. I'm gonna go boil some water and make some tea, so I'm gonna be right back. So, I think I have a be right back image, actually. I just need to find it. Oh, I don't even know where my be right back image went. Cancel. You're very ignorant when it comes to the classics. You've only read Hamlet, Macbeth, Midsummer Night's Dream, and the Odyssey and the Iliad. No, that doesn't sound like ignorant at all. You're pretty well read. You've read a lot. Holy. It's like saying like, that's like saying like, oh, I know nothing, and then it's like you just listed off a whole like slew of them. Lies, guy. I should move this down. Do I pop this here? There are multiple books. Yeah, there's a lot. Those are multiple books, guy. It's not one book. Yeah, I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna grab tea. I'm gonna leave the music going, and I'm gonna read a bit of Iwata, because he's awesome. And this is technically narrative design, right? I'm glad my laptop has not died yet. I was having trouble with it earlier, like the last 2 days. I don't even want to move off my bed. It's so pleasant. 12th Night is also really good. 12th Night for sure is really good. Oh wait, no, wait. I got I forgot. I got soy milk next to me. I'll just drink some. I don't need to be right back then. All right. Let's go. But I do need to find the Iwata book. Ugh! Moving things around. You guys can't see it, but I'm just rolling around. I have a stack of books next to me. Alright. So, Iwata, a brief Iwata is a legend in the gaming industry. We no matter what you do, you know that he's an awesome game dev. So the book's title that came out, I got it as a gift from Space Samurai. It's really good. I started reading it while I was cooking. I got it in mid-April from him, and I accidentally melted my my cutting board. It's a plastic cutting board for vegetables and fruits, right? So I just bought a new cutting board, but that's how good it is. So this is at the back cover. Let me get rid of the BRB sign. Let me show the image of the book, because I think that is relevant. It came out in Japan last year, so there's an English translation of it now. Let me save the image first. Hold on. Backgrounds? I don't know how much you guys know about Iwata. Let me grab an image of it. And add new source. So these are the covers that are currently available of his book. So you've got it. It's been translated into multiple languages. It's Jester trope. Huh. 12th Night is very easy to read, since it's comedy as well. Uh-oh, no reading when things can go on fire. Yeah, don't read when things are on fire. Yeah, Laptop Chan is still alive for now. So, at the back cover of the book, it says that Iwata-san, on his business card, he wrote, here, he says he's corporate president, but in his head, he says he's just a game developer, but in his heart, he is a gamer. So, Satoru Iwata. In this so let me read the book covers for you guys. So in this motivational collection, Satoru Iwata addresses diverse subjects such as locating bottlenecks, how success breeds resistance to change, and why programmers should never say no. Oh wait, how's my sound? Is it too quiet or too loud? Is the background music to my voice ratio like alright? Or is it like too loud? I can lower the music a bit. Mixing's good? Okay. Alright. Just cause like there's some lyrics, so I'm a bit worried. Okay, I'll lower background music a bit. There. I hope that's enough. Okay, so yeah, so he said, so he's like addresses like diverse subjects such as locating bottlenecks, how success breeds resistance to change, and why programmers should never say no. Drawn from the Iwata Ask series of interviews with key contributors to Nintendo games and hardware, and featuring conversations with renowned Mario franchise creator Shigeru Miyamoto and creator of Earthbound Shigesato Itoi. Ask Iwata offers game fans and business leaders an insight into the leadership, development, and design philosophies of one of the most beloved figures in gaming history. And Satoru Iwata, or Iwata Satoru, was the global president and CEO of Nintendo. He is a gifted programmer, but he didn't start that way. He worked his way up, right? And he played a key role in the creation of many of the best like video games, right? He even led production for like the Nintendo DS and the Wii, right? He's the dude that we see the memes of, like, it keeps printing money. He laid the groundwork for like development of the wildly successful Pokemon Go game as well, and Nintendo Switch. He has both like an analytical and a very imaginative mind, right? And like, but I think we, as like gamers and fans, like love him for his humility, because he had like people first approach to like leadership, and like he's still beloved even for like game fans and devs worldwide. Yeah. And like, even now, like, the devs in Nintendo, like, think about, like, what would Iwata do? So, the book I got is edited by Hobonichi. Hobonichi is also the company brand that I use for my personal handwritten agenda, because it comes with quotes from, like, people across multiple industries, as well as, like, photographers, game devs, like, movie directors, writers, artists, programmers, all sorts of people. The book I've got was published by Viz Media and translated by Sam Fett. The book binding I got is hardcover, so like thank you again, Space Samurai, because this is awesome. The original Japanese edition was published by Hobonichi, which is you can see like the far right version is the Hobonichi edition of it in Japanese, and I think the far left of the image is, I'm not sure if it's German. The copy I have is the second volume from the left. Oh no, the third volume. The third image is the one I have, because it's a hardcover. The second image is a softcover, right? So this was initially published in 2019 in Japanese. The version I'm using was printed in the States, from San Francisco. So I'm just doing the work to cite this properly. It was published by Hobonichi Company Limited in Tokyo, in care of Total Mori Agency Incorporated in Tokyo. It says no portion of this book may be reproduced or transmitted in any form or by any means without written permission from the copyright holders. So I'm not showing like the insides of the book, but I'm citing it properly, right? And then let's see. He actually the chapter titles, like the preface is pretty intense, because he actually, like, one of the chapters is like saying that like he became a president and had 1.5 billion yen in debt. Whew. And then so like the book is divided into multiple chapters. So like the first bit is Iwata, the future president. The second section is called the leadership of Iwata. Third section is Iwata the individual. Fourth section is the people Iwata believes in. So that whole section is just Miyamoto section, by the way, and Earthbound, right? And then chapter 5 is like the games Iwata strives to make. And chapter 6 is like the heartbreaking remembering Iwata. And then chapter 7 is Iwata the person. I handwrite, yeah. I love handwriting. Also because like in neuroscience we and develop what was it called? Memory and cognition psychology course, profs revealed that handwriting actually consolidates things into memory much more because you use multiple lobes in order to process writing, whereas typing uses much less neural network. So you actually memorize better when you handwrite things versus when you just type them. Typing is fine for when you're writing down things while someone's talking, but if you want to memorize that shit, you handwrite it. I also like the feel. I haven't evolved to the point where like I like things in digital. Like I said, my laptop's like dying, whereas like my physical books, there's no battery to worry about, there's no dying. When you have that much debt, why would you be given a chance? Yeah, it's really bad that Iwata had like that crazy amount of debt. Let's So I'm gonna read the preface for you guys. So this book presents assorted reflections from Satoru Iwata that were originally published on the website Hobonikan Itoi Shinbun. A portion of the text also draws from the Iwata Ask column that was serialized on the Nintendo website. Iwata rarely talked about himself when interacting with the media. When he believed that the company or project would benefit the most if he were the one to speak, he stepped up to the mic, but any discussion of his personal experience was usually coincidental. You know what, guys? I'm gonna change the background really quickly because I feel that, but before that, let me change the music. Let me look up Nintendo Jazz. You heard me. Oh, that's lovely. Okay. How do you guys feel about Nintendo? Oh wait, there's chill Nintendo Jazz and Bossa Nova music compilation. Let me change the BGM link. Because Persona's great and all, but it makes sense to play Nintendo music when talking about Iwata, right? So let me change the BGM. I'm gonna include the link, and I'm gonna include the title, which is chill Nintendo and jazz bossa nova music. I hope it's not too bad. I really like this font, by the way. There you go. We're all in Atlas's land when we're talking about Nintendo. Oh man. And then the next thing, of course, is it's very important. It's to change the cafe background to how do you guys feel about Animal Crossing? Let me look up an Animal Crossing cafe background. Images. I'm not sure if this is official artwork, but if it is, awesome. If not, it's from Pinterest, so I'm gonna post that. Hold on. Oh no, it's not loading. Have I failed? wait, I got this. Do you guys like Animal Crossing? Cause that's the thing I really like. How come I can't open the image? Open image in new tab. There we go. There's this fellow I like. He's called Brewster. He's some kind of burb. He makes he's about the coffee life, I guess. The only thing about this this program, right, is that like There you go. So I think I can do this. Yeah, let's move this above it. So this is what we're talking about. We're talking about the joy of Iwata. You play Animal Crossing, but you got burnt out on it because it was the first month of lockdown. Oh yeah, that was bad. It all suits though, like Japanese game dev standing. Okay, so it's still a cafe setting, right? Yeah. Should I like move these around a bit? Yeah, I'm read a bit about this. Okay. I'm gonna leave the other background in the background anyway. Alright. This is oddly like relaxing for me. Anyway, alright. So I'm gonna read the preface. Yeah. So this book presents a sort of reflections from Satoru Iwata that were originally published on the website Hobo Nikkan Itoi Shinbun. A portion of the text also draws from the Iwata Ask column serialized on the Nintendo website. Iwata rarely talked about himself when interacting with the media. When he believed that the company or project would benefit the most if he were the one to speak, he stepped up to the mic, but any discussion of his personal experience was usually coincidental. Like he doesn't intend to talk about himself. That said, as so many of us are well aware, Iwata was an extremely honest and resolute individual. If you gather together his various remarks made on a variety of occasions in his capacity as chief executive or as a head of development, his personal insights naturally come to the fore, in a synergy of insight and experience. This book aims to bring together those insights together, gathering it into one volume. Iwata's words of wisdom from like a multitude of articles. Iwata passed away on July 11, 2015. He was a kind man who in his years at HAL Laboratory distinguished himself as a programmer by creating a score of iconic games, and as the president of Nintendo gave the world such consoles as the Nintendo DS and Wii in an earnest effort to, as he put it, expand the gaming population. News of his death weighed heavily on the hearts of people the world over. From its inception in 1998, Hobo Nikkan Itoi Shinbun was lucky enough to have Iwata as a collaborator. He and Shigesato Itoi, the editor-in-chief for this publication, happened to be extremely close, and on occasion Iwata paid a visit to their office to chat with Itoi for as much time as his schedule allowed. He was more than happy to take part in a number of articles they produced, and frequently approached them with content that he produced himself. His sudden passing left us distraught, like so many other game lovers across the world. It felt like a piece of our hearts had been taken away. Now several years have passed, and though we have recovered slightly from the pain, there's something missing in our lives without Iwata around. This feeling prompted us to give Iwata new life through this book. It was the least that we could do, and all the words of wisdom that he gave us. As a note on what follows, most of the source material for this book can still be found in a perusal of their website. If you read carefully through the articles and interviews, you're bound to find something familiar. Yet it's inevitable for web content to be buried under newer material, and pretty soon nobody really reads it anymore. But they're confident that people out there would welcome the chance to revisit what Iwata-san had to say, and we think the number of people seeking to learn more about Iwata and understand him on a personal level will only continue to increase. In his lifetime, Iwata expressed a lack of interest in publishing a book, though he did receive offers. And while he may anticipate a strong demand, both now and in the future, for a book compiling Iwata's observations, we recognize that in a sense we're taking liberties. All the same, we believe that Iwata would give his blessing to the book we have created. He liked to offer his opinion when in trusted company, and grin whenever he read through the latest article, although he may well have asked us, "Are you sure making a book like this is worth everyone's time?" A number of individuals were indispensable to the creation of this book. To the employees of Nintendo, to Shigeru Miyamoto, to Iwata's longtime secretary, Reiko Akimoto, and to Iwata's wife and his entire family. Thank you for permitting us to include the material in this book. Iwata, our dear friend, sometimes we find ourselves wanting to call out your name.
It seems like any day you might crack open the office door wearing that grin of yours. It's devastating to consider that we'll never be able to catch up with you again. Every page of this book is suffused with Iwata's thinking and philosophy. His words continue to steel our resolve, showing us how to live an honest life. May the words of Satoru Iwata continue to reach new audiences for years to come. Hobo Nikkan Itoi Shimbun. This is published from July 2019. So, do you guys want me to read more? Or should I just leave it at the preface? Because I know at least Rami and Space Samurai are both programmers. Should I pick a chapter where he talks about programming? It's up to me. How am I feeling? I'm feeling pretty good. Or do you want me to like... Yeah, you were playing it, but got distracted by way too many games since? Ooh. Leadership... Yeah, from Animal Crossing. Same here. I actually want to know, let's see. I'm gonna read his, like, the chapters... sorry, is it page 16? Hold on. He has there's a little article where he's called "Running Away Would Mean a Lifetime of Regret." Let's channel our inner Shinji. This is from, page 16. Running away would mean a lifetime of regret. I always made an effort, whether it was with our customers or with the other companies that gave us work, to deliver a product that exceeded their expectations. When HAL Laboratory was in financial trouble, people from the companies that had worked with us repeatedly reached out and said, "We'll do anything we can to help. Just say the word." And in fact, not a single company tried to break their contract with us. In retrospect, this difficult period was an incredible learning experience for me. You'd think that under the circumstances, people might say things like, "Don't go to them. They can't be trusted." But that's not how things turned out for us. When our future was uncertain, and we were saddled with over yen 1 billion in liabilities, the first option was to run away. But I dismissed this as a possibility. Running away would mean a lifetime of regret. The reasoning behind my decision ultimately came down to this. Considering our estimated value, carrying over 1 billion yen in debt was out of the question. Was my decision not to run about ethics or aesthetics? It's hard to say, but perhaps a little of both. The biggest sticking point for me was this. How could I run away? After everything my friends and I had been through, I'm thankful for my wife, who never questioned my decision to become president of a company carrying an exorbitant amount of debt. Things did not look good at all. As my life partner, she was taking on an enormous risk as well. It would have been perfectly reasonable for her to say, "Do you really have to do this?" But she never said a word. For that, I'm truly thankful. As president, I continued to look after development. When I asked myself, what are this company's strengths? The answer was clear. Leveraging development was our sole hope of turning things around. This took me all of 10 seconds to realize. At that point, I had resolved to be whatever the action was. The company had several different teams, with staggered busy periods. So I made sure I was around to support the busiest team at any given time. I did this because, at the time, as head developer for the company, I had the strongest ability to discover, analyze, and resolve the various problems we were facing. Aiding the most desperate areas of the company made sense in terms of productivity, while at the same time, if I wanted to demonstrate that I was taking care of business, nothing beat actually showing up and solving problems on the spot. There was no better way of getting folks to say, "With him behind the wheel, we're in good hands." From my vantage point at the top of development, I could see the entire company, especially back then. Our batting average with video games was high, so as long as we made something good, we knew that it would sell. My hands-on connection with development was a bonus for all kinds of reasons. This was the golden age of Super Famicom. The company got a lucky break and managed to spring back to life with Kirby's Dream Land. It was originally slated to come out on the Game Boy under the title Twinkle Popo. But Shigeru Miyamoto told us, this game deserves more attention. So we put off its release and made a few tweaks and fixes, and eventually it was reborn as Kirby's Dream Land. the first game in what became the Kirby series from Nintendo. Meanwhile, the ads for Twinkle Popo had gone up on schedule, and the orders had been coming in, around 26,000 in fact. When we cancelled the release, it caused a scandal at the company, as you can imagine. From the perspective of the folks in sales, it was a mortal blow to our reputation. In reality, though, we wound up selling over 5 million units of Kirby's Dream Land for the Game Boy. A quick calculation shows this to be over 200 times the number of initial orders. Clearly, if we hadn't cancelled the release, the Kirby series as we know it would never have come to be. Across the entire series, these games have achieved cumulative sales of over 20 million units worldwide. If you include Super Smash Bros. Series, where Kirby features as a character, the sales have easily exceeded 30 million units as of 2005, making our decision to delay a truly pivotal event. Let's see. I'm actually curious why he named so that's the Running Away with Mina Lifetime of Regret. He has like there's Iwata's words of wisdom at the end of like every few chapters, right? So I'm gonna read the first one. Also, guys, like if you guys get a chance, buy this book. It's amazing. So part one's Iwata's words of wisdom. So he's not even like, I don't know if he's president yet, but so this is page 20. He says, when I was little, I was sick a lot and had asthma. And after I switched schools, I was bullied for a while. Through these experiences, I saw the world through the eyes of the weak. My first job happened to be at a small company that was weaker, by comparison, than larger companies. But seeing the world through the eyes of the weak was an incredibly valuable experience for me. Even after becoming president of Nintendo, which was far from a weak position, I could never lose sight of my earlier experiences. Nor do I look back on those hard times and feel any resentment whatsoever. When I was president of HAL Laboratory, I wholeheartedly believed that if another person will make a better president, I would want that individual to take my place. He says, since my background is in development, I'm better able to understand the mind of someone working in development than the average executive. If a president says they'll revolutionize the industry, but for the next 5 years the company won't be able to turn a profit, they'll find themselves without a job. And so every year they need to generate a steady stream of profits, but they also need to innovate. It's like flying along in an airplane and working on repairs mid-flight. When I look back on things, it's hard for me to tell whether I chose a unique path because I'm different or chose a unique path by chance and became who I am. What I will say is I've been extremely lucky to find my way into environments that have suited me so well. Beyond that, I'm not so sure. I used to be on the programming side of making games. Now I develop new hardware and platforms. My work has changed tremendously in volume and substance, but deep down, my mentality and stance are basically the same. I may no longer be a programmer, sitting down with everyone and writing programs, but I'll always count myself as one of the creators. So what are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? Management means figuring this out and leading a company in a direction that helps everyone's strengths flourish and keeps their weaknesses in check. Yeah, it's on your to-buy list. Awesome. Then one of the sections I'm really curious about is he has a statement where he says the meaning of programmers should never say no. So that's page 58. Actually, 56. Let's read if it makes sense for you, then go for it. He said, when I'm up against something new or forced into a scenario where my usual way of doing things won't fly, I ask myself if there are any other decent options. Is there something better I could do instead? What would a different person do under the circumstances? But regardless of whether I like it or not, once I'm convinced that I'm the best person for the job, I'm going to step up to the plate. The tasks I've undertaken in the past were all cases where I thought I was the best person for the job. Even if I wasn't sure that I could pull it off, at the very least I was absolutely certain that I was the best person to have a go at it. This too is perhaps typical of a programmer. My career has not been about what I like or dislike, or what I found challenging or unchallenging, but instead about what I thought made sense for me. Although it's not as if there haven't been all kinds of things I would just as soon have avoided. To give a clear-cut example,
I have never once enjoyed or thought that I was any good at being on stage and giving speeches. On top of that, since 2001, I've had to make speeches in English. Unfortunately, I didn't spend time living in America as a kid and was no good at English in high school. But I've been doing this because I felt that it made sense for me to do it rather than someone else. That conclusion gave me the resolve I needed. Since there was no way out of it, I figured I had better jump right in and take a positive approach. In the same vein, there are loads of things that I'm not doing. For every task I tackle with resolve, there are tons of things that I stay out of because I don't actually need to be involved. That way I can focus on the things that only I can do. For the English speeches, I knew that someone had to do them. I've delivered speeches in the period before I became the president of the company, so it wasn't unambiguously my responsibility as president. But as it turned out, we had a big event in America, and someone had to get on stage and talk about the philosophy behind what Nintendo was up to do. Tapping Shigeru Miyamoto was an option, but in that case, we would need to have him practice making speeches and presentations. My thought was that I'd rather have him spend his time creating more fun games than all that sort of thing. In which case, it was up to me. It was decided. But what really matters is that this didn't turn out to simply be a chore. By taking this on, I discovered how fun it can be to learn, to do something you couldn't do before. It was tough, but at the same time, I was able to enjoy it. As a result, I'm making speeches in English, despite it being something I would never have imagined being good at. And then the next bit, that really, excites me is Iwata calls it the meaning of programmers should never say no. A while back, I went on record saying programmers should never say no when you're making games. If a programmer says that's impossible, it not only puts the brakes on a valuable idea, but makes it harder for the next idea to come. If programmers only focus on things that are easy to program, they'll never break the mold and come up with fascinating ideas. Besides, through the process of trial and error, all kinds of things that seem impossible at first can wind up being a success. This is why no is not a word that programmers should say lightly. I still believe this point to be essentially correct. But while I take responsibility for what I said, the statement has taken on a life of its own. It's a matter of fact that when programmers say no to something, they close off possibilities, but not every aspect of development has limitless potential. Games are made under a limited set of restrictions. When something is legitimately impossible, you have no choice but to say no. Sometimes an idea may be possible, but it's crucial that we factor in whether a given task will force you to sacrifice some other feature or be incompatible with some other result. I like for this to be a caveat to my idea. Programmers should never say no. It shouldn't be understood to mean programmers should never use the word impossible. So, I'm gonna read. Oh no! What are you saying? Oh, Remy's. Okay, Say Samurai says, no, but we can do it if you give me more money! Yeah, okay, and I'm gonna read one more section, which is determine priorities and minimize regret. And then I'm gonna head to bed. So that's page 59. It says, determine priorities and minimize regret. When the goal is making people happy, I'll gladly take on even the hardest problem and strategize solutions. Commenting on this tendency of mine, Shigesato Itoi jokingly called me generous to a fault. He has a point though. If somebody is struggling or shows up with a problem, I get the itch to solve it. To be precise, if I'm presented with a problem, I can't help but seriously ask myself, how would I handle this? Not simply helping, but seriously considering things from their perspective. And not because I particularly like the person or because I feel sorry for them, but because I enjoy seeing people look pleased. And so, as a matter of principle, it doesn't matter who the person is, so long as they look pleased once we've resolved the problem. Of course, there are only so many hours in the day, which means I'm forced to determine the total extent of time I can devote to each person and their problems. This poses something of a dilemma, especially these days, now that the emergence of the internet has eliminated such limitations as setting, distance, and physical space. We feel this dilemma more and more acutely. When I asked myself what I could do about this, I finally decided to institute time restrictions. In the past, if I was at the headquarters in Kyoto and planning how to spend a day of work, I could only meet with people who were there in Kyoto. In which case, when I asked myself, Who should I see today? I needed only to consider those in Kyoto with me. But now that the internet is in widespread use, we can regularly interact with people on the other side of the world. The internet also has a way of broadening your motivations. In the past, it was possible to live without knowing there were many people out there who we might be able to help. But today, we're able to see more situations where we might be of service. But this doesn't mean we've shed the limitations on the time at our disposal. So while our opportunities for interacting with others may have drastically increased, it's not as if we can engage with dozens or hundreds of people at once. As a result, it's become more difficult than ever to determine how to spend the hours of the day without regret. This isn't simply about working smart and taking work more seriously. After all, the time you spend thinking about totally random stuff is never wasted. Rather, it's more about deciding where to direct your limited supply of time and energy. On a deeper level, I think this is about doing what you were born to do. Either way, spreading yourself thin will get you nowhere. Same goes for companies. If you let the masses dictate your decision-making, you're forced to cast a wide net, and you won't be able to give individual projects the attention they deserve. As a result, the work lacks depth, and above all, has no secondary gains. The best bet, when on the individual level and the corporate level, is to take stock of your abilities and assign priority to minimize regret. Regret is part of life, but it's something we would all rather avoid. If we can even slightly dial back how often we tell ourselves, I wish I'd done things differently, I think we'd be a whole lot happier. Well, that's it for my little bit of reading this awesome book, Words of Wisdom from Satoru Iwata, Nintendo's legendary CEO. The book is, once again, called Ask Iwata, published by Viz Media, and edited by Hobonichi. I hope you guys have a good evening. But before I go, any comments? Bedtime stories. Thank you for joining, everyone. Feel free to buy me a coffee or donate for extralife.org, video game based children's charity that supports hospitals across North America. Children's hospitals. Yeah. And I will bring this back. I'll probably try doing this once a week or maybe once every 2 weeks. Actually, since it's just really just you, Rami, and a couple of you that like this. Rami, what's your schedule so I don't mess up and you're not around? Space Samurai, I know he works until afternoon. Should I keep doing this maybe once a week, or should I do it bi-weekly? What do you guys think? Do what I think is fun. This was fun. I mean, I got a lot of books on game dev and all sorts of things. Anytime is good for you, Rami. Alright. Well, I'll try doing this next week again. Maybe Saturday as well? Yeah. So I'll just focus on, if I do art stuff, I'll stream myself doing character art and stuff. I guess I could do it as a portfolio piece, as I mentioned before, making a very basic visual novel with the Tempest, so I could illustrate it, and I really don't have to do much coding because all the but I do have to animate things moving around, so we'll see. Maybe I'll do I'll have to review how to use Fungus, so I can probably stream myself relearning how to do Unity on the desktop, because my laptop isn't exactly dependable at the moment. But alright, I hope you guys all have a good evening or good morning, and I'll see you Friday for more monster hunting. If I play Monster Hunter during the week, it'll probably be in the evenings. Tomorrow, I'm just gonna chill. Monday, I think I will play some Genshin, maybe. Oh, a note about Monday this week. No Dungeons and Dragons, because our DM is moving.
and I think he's in the process of moving for the next little while, so I'll announce like when we do D&D again. Usually I host his stream, Orokami, on Monday nights. So in the meantime, I will stream on Monday evenings once more at about, I think, from 7 to 9 or so p.m. Oh wait, no, I have to double check. No, normally we start streaming at 9 p.m. Eastern time, because, wait, 3 hours back, that is 6 p.m. PST, right? I forget. But like, yeah, so I'll stream something Monday night so that I still keep up the schedule, even though it won't be D&D. I'm not sure what I'll do yet, but yeah. Thanks again for joining, everyone. Bye!